Hello, everybody. We've been getting a lot of questions around the big news that we revealed in our last video. The big news, of course, being that we bought a cabin on a cruise ship, specifically the Villa Vie Residences Odyssey cruise ship. So in this video, we wanted to give you the full scoop around the exact reasons why we decided to do this.
If you're new to our channel, thanks for coming and joining us. And if you've been with us a while, thank you for that too. We're Michael and Chris. We retired early 3 years ago, and our passion is traveling. And we love to cruise as well. So when we saw the opportunity to actually live on a cruise ship, we thought about it. We did a lot of calculations and work on it. We actually toured the ship, and then we pulled the trigger. So today we're going to share those reasons with you about how we got here. Let us know what you think about these reasons. Are they good enough for you to do it too?
If you follow our channel, you know that we often do videos which we call cost breakdown videos for the destinations that we travel to. We've done that with Paris, with Sydney, Madrid, Barcelona, several other destinations. And in those videos, you'll see that we often start with a projected budget, where we predict exactly what we're going to spend in those locations. But what we often find is that what we spend in the end, what we actually spend, it's a little too different from what we had predicted. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, some of which, probably most of it, is within our control, of course, but there's also a lot of unpredictability there. For example, COVID, of course, there's unpredictable, unstable economies in some of the countries we travel to. There's inflation, so there's a lot of unpredictability in travel costs these days more than ever before.
And as much as we travel, we wanted more predictability, and we wanted to have confidence in that predictability so we could plan and do what we love to do, which is travel. So when Villa Vie came along, it really offered us a lot more predictability than we've had. If you think about it, it takes a lot of the major components of our travel expense, like our hotel, which is the ship, our food, a lot of our entertainment, even our travel, because we're on the ship traveling around, and it puts it into a very predictable price. In fact, we know what we paid up front, of course, that's done, but we then pay a monthly fee that covers so much of what used to have a lot of variation and an exact amount per month for both of us without any added expenses, and it does so for the next 15 years. So we've got predictability around things that really were kind of driving us crazy, and now we can just focus on managing the few things that are not included.
And I think even above that is that not only is it now predictable, but it adds some extra thing to it that we didn't have before. For example, laundry and a gym and a pool that we travel with. Those are things that we didn't budget for before. Now we don't even have to budget for it because it's included in that set cost.
It's not only included in the cost, we have it, because many times we didn't. So this is really going to simplify our predictability and our budgeting, and we think that's a great thing.
Not only are costs unpredictable, but they are increasing as well. Now, that's not surprising, but what is surprising is just how far and how fast that they're increasing. Since we first retired and started traveling, we've seen I'd say double-digit increases in the cost of travel year over year. Absolutely. It's incredibly surprising. We talk a lot about inflation in the United States, but take it from us, we've traveled probably worldwide at this point, Europe, South America, Asia, lots of different places. And we have seen inflation in every country that we've gone to. It is definitely a worldwide issue at this point.
And we wanted to kind of shield ourselves as much as we can from that. Who wouldn't, right? So as we looked at Villa Vie and we looked at how it's structured, it allowed us to do that. Because we bought our cabin, we of course paid up front for the cabin itself, but we have this ongoing monthly maintenance that includes being on the ship, the everything that's included, of course, the hotel, the food, that kind of stuff. And that fee is fixed by contract for 15 years or the life of the ship. And so that is a predictable cost. So whatever happens with inflation, we've got an exact dollar figure that we plan on paying. Now, you don't get that if you're a segment renter, somebody that just comes on for a section of the cruise that doesn't own their cabin. But for us that own it, it actually gives us some protection from the inflation. And that's been especially big a deal with
Airbnbs.
Right.
We've done a video on that before because what we found was that travel costs were increasing across the board, but it was especially evident, at least for us, when it came to Airbnbs. We did a whole video on it where the costs were so high, but the quality didn't always follow that.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it did, but a lot of times it didn't.
It got less predictable and more expensive, and of course all the fees. And on the ship, we don't have any cleaning fees because embedded in our monthly fee is maid service. So when we look at all of that and the ability to kind of shield ourselves from so much of that expense inflation, it was an absolute deal for us, we thought, to get on Villa Vie.
We hinted at this a little bit earlier. Not only have Airbnbs been unpredictable in terms of cost and increasing in terms of cost, they've also been a little bit unpredictable when it comes to quality. Now, don't get us wrong, we've had some incredible Airbnbs. They've been really awesome. Like, you remember the time in, was it Merida? We stayed in that colonial mansion. That was really fantastic. So we'd had some great Airbnbs. Usually when it was a place that we didn't quite love, it was usually around a noise issue. For example, in Barcelona, remember location-wise, it was terrific.
Yeah, and beautiful apartment.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
It was just on a very noisy street. We often encounter issues with noise, and in this case, we didn't know that was going to happen, that it was on that street, and that it was such a busy street. So it's unpredictable that way.
The other thing is you don't have your stuff. So a lot of times it can be unpredictable in terms of the pillows on the bed or the quality of the sheets, or do you have towels that are actually decent, or the stuff you need in the kitchen, or the television and that kind of stuff. So the notion of kind of being on Villa Vie and having our own stuff is super appealing. And we know what we're going to get, we know what's going to be there, and it's going to be ours, and that's super appealing.
I also think that we should mention there's something we had been concerned about, that we'd always worried a little bit about the impact that us staying in Airbnbs had on the local population. That, you know, you hear a lot about Airbnbs and short-term housing increasing the cost of housing for the locals, and we kind of hated to be a part of that.
Yeah, we always stayed a month, so we really tried to make sure we did all we could to support the local economy. We tried to rent from locals, not businesses. But that is something that we were concerned about. And of course now we have our own spot on the ship, and it travels around and pays for port fees and helps the local economies, and we feel better about that. So it's another thing that actually helps us as we make this decision.
You've probably heard us say in our previous videos that life is too short. Now, life is very short, but there is so much that we want to see, but there is just so little time. Now, we of course have traveled extensively, but we've done a lot of, like, Europe. We've done a few places in Asia, but certainly we haven't done enough there. We haven't seen enough of South America. There's just a lot of other places that we need to see. Now, how do we do that? We could accelerate our travel on land and by air, but that would be exhausting, but certainly expensive.
And we love cruises too, but most cruises just spend a few hours in a port, and that really isn't the way we like to travel. So we didn't want to just go in somewhere for a few hours or one night. and punch our ticket. That's not the way we like to travel. So as we looked at Villa Vie, it gave us the opportunity to not have to pack and unpack, not have to get on planes, trains, and automobiles, and of course all the expense and the hassle that goes with that. But we still get to go to so many more places that we wouldn't have gone otherwise, and actually stay long enough to enjoy it the way we like to travel.
We love how the Villa Vie Odyssey is going to be going into all of these different ports. So we really are going to be able to really explore these cultures and these destinations more. But what's great on top of that is that it's going to be going into all of these little small ports, which we love. So we're going to be able to go to these off the beaten path kind of places. It reminds me of that time we went on a cruise ship with Windstar Cruises.
Yes, yeah.
They have this one ship that is very small. It has no more than 200 people on it, and it's kind of a sailboat in a way. It has these giant sails on top. And it would go into these very small ports into the Mediterranean. So we really got to see parts of Greece that most people would not be able to see. We would love to be able to replicate that on the Villa Vie Odyssey.
Absolutely, which we can do with a smaller ship. We can go places the big ones can't. But the other thing that's really cool to us is that when we get there, we stay a long time. It's not kind of in and out for a few hours like a traditional cruise ship. We're actually going to be there long enough to be there the way we want to be there.
And I think a good example of that is Brazil. We were looking at the itinerary for the Villa Vie Odyssey, and it's going to be spending several nights in Rio, which is fantastic. But then it has like over a dozen other smaller ports throughout Brazil. So this is going to give us an opportunity to really kind of slow travel Brazil, but even though we're on a cruise ship, and really get a sense of that country.
Yeah, which is a great opportunity that we couldn't do if we wanted to replicate it on land, seeing that much. The other cool thing that we think we'll be able to do is actually get off the ship and travel inland and then meet the ship back wherever it is. So one of the particular ideas I've got is while we're in Europe, we may want to spend some more time in Vienna. So get off at some European port, go to Vienna for a while, and then catch up with the ship wherever it is. That's a neat thing to do.
With Villa Vie Residences, we're going to get something that we don't normally have when we travel, which is community. We're going to be on a ship with lots of other owners and segmenters. So we're going to be part of a community that has a lot of shared interest, including travel, of course.
And it's a diverse community, and it's an active community. They plan a lot of things, of course, on the ship, but the community also has bonded and has come together, and we are excited about being able to share not only with each other and our friends and family back home, but actually having friends that go along for the ride with us.
I think it's going to be really cool to, at the end of the day, after we've been out somewhere on a tour or whatever, I'm going to not only be able to share the experience with you, but I'll be able to tell these stories to other people who were on the ship as well, and who have other stories of their own and see the destination from a different viewpoint, which I think is cool.
I think it's super cool. And we look out for each other, and we've got a common interest. So this is a community that's going to build, and I'm sure like any other community, it'll have its challenges, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Not only are we excited about getting involved with Villa Vie Residences for the obvious reasons, being all of the travel opportunities that we're going to have, but we also think it could also be an exciting investment opportunity. Now, that won't be for everybody, of course, but at least for us, we think that cruising is going to continue to grow, and the residential cruising sector of that will probably take off really big too. At least we think so. And then also in terms of investment, just like any other real estate investment, there's some opportunities here for us, because since we're going to own the cabin, we could choose to rent it if we wanted to, which could offset costs. Now, we probably wouldn't do that, but we have these opportunities that we wouldn't have had before.
And again, this is money we were spending anyway on travel. So that's kind of the way we're looking at it. We're obviously not risking everything we have to do this, but this is kind of a different way of spending our travel money, and we feel good about it. There's already rumors of a second ship coming. We believe that the demand is there. There's clearly been hiccups on this first ship. This was a startup. It came with risk. I think those hiccups have gotten a lot of press, and that's upsetting some people.
Yeah, I think the hiccups scared a lot of people off to the idea at first. I think some of that is subsiding now. But what I think we've witnessed to some extent is that at least the owners of the company, we think they've probably learned a lot of hard lessons for that I'm hoping will be applied to the future.
Yeah, a lot of hard lessons, but we watched him go through it, and there will be other unintended things that come along, but we've got confidence that we're with the right team, and we're excited about the future and taking our travel investment and making it an investment that could pay off for us.
We are really excited to be among the first to experience this really new and innovative concept. I mean, this really hasn't been done before, and we think it's going to shape the cruise industry dramatically going forward, and we're able to see that from within.
Yeah, we're excited to be part of the pioneers. I'm sure it will have ups and downs, and we look forward to those, which is part of travel anyway. But we want to inspire you and others to consider it and follow along with our adventures. We'll keep making videos and sharing our daily ups and downs and all our adventures, and we hope you'll join us for every one of them.